The Double Life of Maria. My name is Maria, and for almost 4 years I lived a lie so intricate, so deeply woven into the fabric of my days, that sometimes I forgot which life was the real one. It wasn't just a secret. It was a parallel existence, a second, fully formed relationship, played out right alongside my first. A relationship I cherished, a man I loved, and a man I destroyed. I'm telling this story not to seek absolution. I know I don't deserve it, but to own the colossal mistake that shattered 2 lives, including my own. I hope to learn, truly learn, from the ashes of this moral failure. The beginning was innocent enough, or at least, that's what I told myself as the cracks started to form. It was a year or 2 after I'd graduated college, a blur of ambition and youthful optimism. I met Liam. He was stable, kind, and possessed an easygoing warmth that felt like coming home. We hit it off instantly. Within a year we were sharing an apartment, building a comfortable, predictable life together. Then the world slammed shut. The pandemic arrived, locking us down in our small space. We were both working from home, suddenly in each other's presence 24 hours a day. Initially it was fine. Cozy even. We binge-watched series, cooked elaborate meals, and found a rhythm in the forced isolation. Things were good until I started to feel like I needed some space. But as the weeks stretched into months, the walls began to close in on me. I started to crave air, space, a sense of self that wasn't defined by our shared quarantine bubble. Liam was still wonderful, but the constant proximity eroded the romance, replacing it with a quiet, mundane companionship. A deep, unsettling restlessness took root in my soul. I needed an escape, a reckless, unpredictable thrill to prove I was still alive. Needless to say, the original relationship suffered. My career provided the first opportunity for physical space. I shifted to working night shifts as a nurse in a busy city hospital. It was brutal, exhausting work, but the change of pace was a relief. The hours were long, but the freedom was intoxicating. It was during these shifts that the moral compromise began. A moment of weakness, a flash of loneliness, a need for novelty. I started working nights in a hospital and would sneak out during my shift to meet other guys. It was usually a one-night stand, a faceless transaction that provided a momentary, shameful rush. A release. Nothing serious. Nothing that could touch the foundations of my life with Liam. That was the lie I told myself until I met Finn. It was late one evening, a dingy bar near the hospital. He was waiting for a friend, perched at the counter, a casual confidence about him. We talked for hours, not about the darkness of the pandemic, but about dreams, books, and the sheer joy of living. There was an instant electric connection, a spark I hadn't felt in years, maybe ever. We met once, a casual encounter, but the conversation was too good to leave there. We went on a date for the second meeting and we hit it off perfectly well. I remember the dizzying excitement of getting ready, the meticulous excuses I crafted for Liam about a long shift or an emergency case. The second meeting was a revelation. Finn was everything the current version of my life wasn't. Vibrant, unpredictable, and passionately present. He made me laugh until my stomach hurt, listened with an intense focus that made me feel like the most interesting person in the world, and there was an emotional resonance that terrified and thrilled me simultaneously. He was perfect in every way as well. Utterly, beautifully perfect. The one-night stand stopped immediately. Finn was different. He was a person, a potential future, not just a temporary fix. Our connection blossomed quickly and intensely. This continued for about a year, meeting his friends and family, going out and getting to know each other. A full year where I navigated 2 distinct, demanding relationships. I became an expert in subterfuge. My phone was a fortress of lies, hidden apps, and careful deletion. My calendar was a masterpiece of conflicting appointments. I was essentially living a double life. With Finn, I was Maria the adventurer, the free spirit, the woman who loved jazz clubs and spontaneous road trips. I met his friends and family. I spent holidays with his incredibly warm, welcoming family. I was, to all of them, his girlfriend. With Liam, I was Maria the dutiful partner, the exhausted night shift nurse, the one struggling with the stress of a changing world. I was physically present but emotionally distant. My original relationship with Liam was suffering. How could it not? My attention was divided, my energy was depleted, and my guilt was a heavy, invisible blanket. I was constantly manufacturing excuses between the 2 men and essentially living a double life. Meanwhile, Liam, sensing the distance but not the reason, started working on himself. During that time, the first guy went back to work at an office, threw himself into his work, and began confronting his own previous baggage. He was unknowingly becoming a well-developed mature man while I was spiraling into moral chaos. The better he became, the worse I felt, and the tighter I clung to the reckless excitement of Finn. This painful, unsustainable balancing act was about to enter its second year. The cost of compromise. The tightrope walk of the double life stretched on, entering its second year, and the strain was becoming unbearable. I was perpetually exhausted, not from the night shifts at the hospital, but from the relentless mental gymnastics required to keep two separate realities from colliding. The guilt, which had started as a sharp prick, was now a dull, continuous ache. I was constantly checking my phone, deleting texts, crafting plausible backstories for every misplaced scarf or uncharacteristic scent. I was always making excuses between the two guys and essentially living a double life. Finn, however, was blissfully unaware. He was everything I was desperately craving: spontaneous, emotionally available, and genuinely excited about us. He was perfect in every way as well. He had started talking about the future, real future, meeting my family, planning a proper vacation, perhaps moving in together someday. His open, hopeful gaze was the mirror in which I saw my own moral ugliness reflected. I knew I was stringing him along. He deserved a woman who could commit to him fully without a ghost in the background. The pressure cooker exploded. I decided to end it. For the first time in months, I chose the painful path of honesty, though it was cloaked in manufactured excuses. I broke things off with guy number 2 because I felt I was stringing him along. The breakup was excruciating. I chose a quiet, crowded coffee shop, hoping the public setting would keep my composure intact. I told him the stress of my work, the long hours, my need to prioritize my career. Anything but the truth. Finn was heartbroken. He didn't lash out. He simply crumbled, his eyes searching mine for a reason that wasn't there. That utter look of defeat, the quiet dignity of his pain, tore me apart. I returned to Liam and the quiet comfort of our apartment, expecting a cleansing, a return to normalcy. But the silence where Finn's presence used to be was deafening. I tried to focus on Liam. He was stable, dependable, and, ironically, thriving. While my original relationship suffered, the first guy went back to work at an office, and worked on himself and previous baggage, and is now a well-developed mature man. He was truly becoming the best version of himself, which only magnified the feeling that I was the flaw in our once perfect picture. The emptiness became a physical affliction. The comfort with Liam felt suffocating. The mundane rhythm was now a haunting reminder of the passion I had abandoned. I missed Finn desperately. I missed the way his hand fit mine, the way his laughter echoed, the way he made me feel completely seen. The weeks turned into an eternity. I was miserable. The guilt of staying with Liam, knowing I didn't want to be there, quickly outweighed the guilt of the lie. I crumbled. I reached out. A late-night text that simply said, "I made a terrible mistake." He answered immediately. We met. The reunion was a hurricane of tears, apologies, and raw, desperate relief. We got back together because I fell for him. He was still perfect in every way as well. The cycle began anew, but this time the stakes were higher, the bond deeper, and the secrecy more corrosive. As the secret relationship crept into year 3, the logistics became completely unsustainable. My excuses to Liam were repetitive and thin. I couldn't risk meeting Finn at my place, and the hospital parking lot was too risky. We needed more time together, more than stolen hours in neutral spaces. I needed a base of operations, a place where I could breathe and truly be Finn's girlfriend. So I got a rental so I could see Guy 2 more often. I spun the lie to Liam with practiced ease. A small, cheap studio near the hospital, necessary for quick naps and breaks between my brutal night shifts. It was a plausible cover. To Finn, it was a huge step forward, a sign of my commitment, a small nest where we could finally exist without fear. This rental was a testament to the magnitude of my deception, a financial and emotional investment in my double life. It provided the illusion of normalcy. Quiet evenings, cooking together, falling asleep side by side, waking up and drinking coffee without rushing. My life was now perfectly cleaved in two. Liam, immersed in his personal growth and work, seemed satisfied with my explanation. He was happy I was prioritizing my rest. He was so trusting, so intrinsically good, that I felt a fresh wave of nausea with every new lie. I was constantly making excuses between the two guys and essentially living a double life. The rental lease came to an end at the end of the year. This forced me to face reality again. Finn, completely in love, saw the end of the lease as the natural next step. He asked me to move in with him. The question hung in the air, a final ultimatum. Moving in with Finn meant choosing him, tearing down the scaffolding of my lie, and finally, unequivocally, ending things with Liam. It meant embracing the thrilling but uncertain future. I looked at Liam, the 4 years of history, the stability, the comfortable routine we had built. He was the anchor, the safe harbor. Finn was the vibrant storm, the unpredictable adventure. I couldn't choose. I was terrified of hurting Finn, but even more terrified of losing the safety net of Liam. In a fit of panic, I chose neither. When the lease came to an end at the end of the year, Guy too asked me to move in with him, but I broke up with him again. I told Finn I couldn't handle the pressure of such a big step, that I was too focused on my work. It was a messy, heartbreaking goodbye, full of my half-truths and his profound confusion. I drove away from him, feeling like the most contemptible person on earth. I had wounded him again, deeper this time. Yet our gravity was too strong. It was only weeks later, reeling from the loss, that we got back together. Our love was not only passionate but pathologically entrenched in this cycle of separation and desperate reunion. I was addicted to him, and he, tragically, was addicted to the idea of me. Final crossroads. The 4th year arrived, draped in the heavy cloak of inevitability. My cycle of passion, panic, and betrayal had reached a breaking point. We had gotten back together, but our reunion was shadowed by the lingering trauma of the previous breakups. Finn, though he loved me fiercely, was subtly wounded, his trust permanently scarred. And I was a wreck of conflicting desires. I loved guy number 2, but I also loved guy number 1, and the relationship has gotten a lot better. The ultimate, unavoidable test came when Finn found a fantastic professional opportunity. He moved to another city in the same state, a clean slate, a chance to start fresh, far from the shadows of my night shifts and emergency trainings. And he asked me to come with him. This was the final, undeniable choice. I accepted, immediately. I told him I would be there within the month. I told Liam that the hospital was transferring me to a new facility, a necessary but sad career move. I packed some boxes, creating the illusion of forward motion, the illusion of a choice finally made. But 3 months passed, 3 excruciating months of excuses as to why I was delaying the move. I told Finn there were complications with my nursing license transfer. Then that I needed to finish a major project at the hospital. Then that I was waiting for the perfect apartment lease to finalize. Every excuse felt weaker than the last. A thin, pathetic shield against the colossal truth. The truth was simple. I couldn't bring myself to leave Liam. I couldn't dismantle the safety, the history, the sheer comfort of our life. Even though my heart hammered for Finn. The relationship with Liam had actually improved significantly. He had become a well-developed, mature man, and my guilt-driven presence had, ironically, made him cherish our time together even more. I felt utterly paralyzed, suspended between 2 wonderful men, unable to sacrifice the stability of the past for the volatile, passionate promise of the future. I love guy number 2, but I also love guy number 1. One evening, Finn called, his voice tight, strained. He was tired of my delays. He didn't accuse me of infidelity. He just accused me of not loving him enough to prioritize us. And he was right. I couldn't move. I couldn't choose him. I broke up with him again. This final breakup was different. It wasn't about testing the waters or temporary panic. It was a cold, hard admission of my own failure, my own cowardice. Feeling guilty because I love guy number 2, but I also love guy number 1, I confessed to Finn that I couldn't move because I simply couldn't leave my existing life. I didn't mention Liam by name, but the implication of an entanglement, a long-term anchor I couldn't cut, was brutally clear. We ended up in bad terms. The parting was harsh, full of pain and unresolved confusion on his side. I had broken his spirit. I had wasted years of his life, years he spent loving a ghost who could only visit him in secret. I miss guy number 2, and I am sad that I left him. The pain of my heartbreak was immediate, but it was a necessary heartbreak, a consequence I had earned. I haven't told anyone but some really close friends who offered support and acknowledged that it was wrong. But at least I ended it instead of wasting guy number 2's time in future. After almost 4 years, I couldn't bring myself to leave guy number 1 for guy number 2, and now I'm having to deal with heartbreak from a second secret relationship. I threw myself back into the life with Liam, trying to reconnect, trying to make the real relationship work, trying to convince myself that this safe, stable life was what I wanted all along. The pain of losing Finn was a constant, sharp echo, but I told myself that the suffering was my penance, the price for finally choosing an honest path, no matter how agonizing that path was. But fate, or perhaps just the universe balancing the scales, had one last brutal lesson for me: the reckoning in the ruin. I spent the next 2 months desperately trying, to put the pieces of my real life back together. The silence from Finn's new city was a palpable weight, a daily reminder of the void I had created. I clung to Liam, to the comfort of our history, to the simple, honest companionship he offered. I tried to convince myself that stability was better than the chaotic, breathtaking passion I'd just thrown away. We watched movies, we planned quiet weekends. I was physically there, but my heart was still agonizingly raw, bleeding for the man I had pushed away. I hadn't told anyone but some really close friends who offered support and acknowledged that it was wrong. But at least I ended it instead of wasting guy number two's time in future. The moral high ground I claimed was a cold comfort, a poor substitute for love. I missed Finn. I missed his vibrant energy, the way he saw the world, the way he saw me. I am sad that I left him, a sadness that tasted like ash and regret. I found myself checking his social media, a shameful, furtive habit, just looking for a sign, a flicker of his old life, a hint that he was hurting as much as I was. It was a selfish, terrible impulse. And then, 2 months after I broke up with him, I found out the truth. It was a casual post, a picture on a friend's feed, a bright, beaming photo of Finn, with a woman. She was beautiful, radiant, leaning into him with an easy intimacy that spoke of shared laughter and simple, uncomplicated love. I just found out 2 months after I broke up with him. He's already in a relationship with someone else. The air left my lungs in a violent rush. It was a physical blow, a gut-wrenching shock that brought me to my knees in the privacy of our bathroom. I stared at the screen, reading the comments, confirmation after confirmation. They looked so happy, a perfect couple. So glad Finn found someone great. He hadn't spent months wallowing. He hadn't begged for me back. He hadn't dissolved into the grief that consumed me. He had moved on. He had done what any sane, wonderful man should do when betrayed. He had taken the clean break I forced on him and used it to build a new, honest life. Which makes me feel hurt. The hypocrisy of my pain was staggering. I, the architect of his misery, the master of deceit, was suddenly flooded with a searing, irrational jealousy. How dare he be happy without me? How dare he find someone else so quickly? I was the one who loved him. I was the one who was supposed to be the great love of his life. The sheer entitlement of that thought was sickening. But it was real. I miss him and I love him. And the realization that he was truly gone, that he had replaced me, was the cruelest, most deserved heartbreak I had ever known. That night, I looked at Liam sleeping beside me. His breathing was even and peaceful. He was still the well-developed, mature man. The good man, who had spent 4 years trusting me completely. The contrast was agonizing. Finn's new happiness meant he was truly free. A life I had stolen from him, now rightfully returned. But I was still trapped, shackled to my secret, marooned in a relationship I couldn't fully commit to, devastated by the loss of the man I couldn't choose. I sat up that night, the silence of the apartment pressing down on me, and realized the true, terrifying cost of my double life. I hadn't just hurt 2 men. I had broken my own moral compass. I had spent 4 years prioritizing my fear over my integrity, my comfort over Finn's future, and my own selfish needs over the genuine, uncomplicated love that both men offered in different ways. After almost 4 years, I couldn't bring myself to leave guy number 1 for guy number 2, and now I'm having to deal with heartbreak from a second secret relationship. I had sought excitement and found ruin. I had sought space and ended up trapped. The ending was not a dramatic confrontation. No tearful confession to Liam. Not yet. The ending was a cold, desolate clarity. The villain in this story was me. Liam was thriving, Finn had found justice and happiness, and I was left alone with the wreckage of my choices. Facing the truth that the life I was currently living with Liam was a fragile illusion, built on a foundation of lies and fueled by my own cowardice. The true punishment wasn't Finn's absence. It was the knowledge that I had lost the most perfect thing I had ever found. and that I had nobody to blame but myself. I look ahead now, to the painstaking, terrifying process of becoming truly honest, of potentially losing Liam to the truth, and of living with the profound, justified heartbreak of having lost Finn forever. I hope, truly hope, to learn from this lesson, and not repeat my mistakes. This is my story, the story of a woman who had it all, and threw it away for the dangerous thrill of having two lives, and ended up with none.